Okay, let's have a look at how to play Neon by John Mayer. Take that initial breath going into them. However, the rhythm changes. So what we'll do is have a look at both the original studio version from the album Room for Squares, as well as the solo acoustic version. I'm sure you know the version I'm talking about. It's the version with the slapping. It's an excellent performance. So the major focus of this video will be the guitar playing used in the verses. That's sort of where the meat of the playing is. And we'll look at how he plays that part in each of the versions, the studio version as well as the live version. Okay, and it's this very mellow, very quiet part. Okay, let me grab my guitar and let's learn this. The first thing you'll need to do is tune your low E down to a low C. That's 2 tones down. The pitch of that note is the C 2 octaves below middle C. This is the note. First we'll look at the slap version. Let's talk about the right hand. What you'll want to do is adopt almost like a cat paw formation or a claw formation. So see how these fingers are curled down, and you'll almost keep them like that. Okay? So that when you slap, you'll slap down on the low E string, and then you'll pull up. But you're not really pulling your fingers independently, you're pulling your whole hand up. It's like a pluck with your whole hand. So it's slap, pluck, pulling everything away. And it allows for a very fast motion. So it isn't really finger picking, it's slap, pluck. Okay, so for now just using the low E and the D string, which will be the forefinger and the thumb. So again, adopt that sort of paw position, that claw position, and again, the pluck is on the D. Which you can see if you look up here on the screen, you'll see the D string vibrating. And then you can do the G string, and then the B string. And for this song, these 3 fingers will maintain their position on these strings. Let me play through the chords once so you can hear it. And you'll find your finger positions up here to follow along. So on the B and G string, first and third fingers, starting with your slap, percussive hit, and the rhythm is you move to the second position. The chord shape here is essentially a C minor 7th chord shape, only you're including that 3rd fret on the lower string. So you're beginning just with the E and the D strings on the 3rd fret. And then you're going to hammer on those next 2 notes, the G and the E flat. There's a rhythmic shift here. So on the first chord we're going, which is, on the second chord we're going, adding that second beat in the beginning. Instead of, we're going, okay, and it goes. Now there is something else we need to add in there, but we're going to stick with that for a minute. So again, first position is, second is, third is, and then the closing chords. Now what we add in is almost like a breath taking place between those chords, using the open strings. It takes place here. We begin with, but just before we go to the chord, we hit the open E and D strings. And it's very quick, just like a breath before the chord comes in. before we move to the next chord, we take one of those breaths again. And this time it's the open E string, but we jump our pinky up to the 6th fret of the D string to play a G sharp or A flat. So from the beginning it sounds like this. So again, that last one is... So what happens is you have this syncopation taking place on this A flat. So of course we're using the slap. And just before we move up to those closing chords, you insert those open strings again. From the previous position, the breath, and then to the open strings. So again. Again. Now I'll play through it slowly again. Now the other thing that takes place when John plays this, you'll notice that he uses his thumb along the low E string. Now because I don't use my thumb on the E string, I miss out on something that John puts in, which is this slide up to that final bass note, which sounds like this. So you just need to back up to get that slide in. That's the slap version. Okay, now let's look at the studio version. So I'll play through it first. Okay, and the main difference between the two versions is the lack of slapping, obviously, and also the addition of a few notes. Okay, as far as right hand technique, there's a little bit more muting happening. You're just dampening with your palm on the bridge. You still have the same harsh plucking, which is the source of the percussive sound in this version. The first position is exactly the same as the acoustic, just without the initial slap, and without the percussive hit as well. So, all right. Second position is the same, again with that breath in between. So the difference here is that you're actually playing that hammer onto the G. So where in the acoustic version, that's more of almost a peripheral sound. You're not actively playing it, it's passive. The third position is the same. Now the difference here is the addition of that B flat, which isn't in the acoustic version. So again from the beginning. Okay, and then up to the closing chords. And the rhythmic treatment of the closing chords is another clear difference. You still take that initial breath going into them. However, the rhythm changes from to. You'll notice the addition of the open string there again as well. So it takes a breath before that very last chord. So again, the acoustic version is. The studio version is. And again, because John's playing with his thumb, there probably is that slide as well. So. Now this actually does appear in the acoustic version at some point, I think in the second verse, but not nearly as pronounced as it is in the studio version, where you find it from the very beginning. So from the top. And that's the studio version. Hey dude. Oh hey dude, what's up? I need you to play through that a couple more times for me. Okay. Just to show these guys something. Hey, how are we doing this? It's kind of complicated, actually. Well, like how complicated? Think simulation theory. Oh. But don't worry about it for now, okay? Just hold on. Okay. So in the studio version, there's a second guitar part that comes in at the second verse. Okay, and it's this very mellow, very quiet part that sounds like this. It's palm muted as well. It sounds like this. Hey, dude. Hey. Hey. Hey, wake up. We're gonna play this. Okay.